What's up? A to Z Sports Live on a Friday. We made it to Friday. We've got a good topic, a topic that I've been sitting on for weeks, Easton, for weeks, because I was off for 3 weeks and now I'm back. And we've had this topic that we were going to say, okay, we'll talk about this the next day. Then something else happens, and we'll talk about this the next day. And then something else happens. But it's Friday, and here we are talking about the massive targets that Cam Ward puts on head coach Brian Callahan's back. And this is where we're going to go with it today. An interesting conversation that we're going to have, because drafting a quarterback number one overall is typically the right move for the franchise, but is it the right move for the Titans head coach for his longevity as the Titans head coach? And I'm curious to see where Easton's going to land with this. There's hot seat conversation that we can have. And I think Cam Ward being drafted number one overall puts Brian Callahan immediately on the hot seat as soon as the pick is read by Roger Goodell on April 24th in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is still weird.
Still can't get over that.
Is in a neighborhood that also has Lambeau Field. So we'll talk about this topic, this take from me, and figure out what you guys believe. If you agree with me, if you don't, what is Brian Callahan's job security like overall? And then the Titans made a move yesterday that is very much disliked, and that's they're not wearing the Oilers throwbacks this season, but they've also made another jersey change that we'll talk about as well before it is Friday, which means ain't that good news. We always wrap up our week by sharing some good news, whether it's something that you've done in your life, something you've got coming up, something you saw on the internet that's good, that makes you feel great. Whatever your good news is, start pondering that good news for later in the show. We want to read as many of the good news that people have in their lives as possible. And I've got great news. Tennessee Vols play basketball game tonight in the Sweet 16 against their hated rival Kentucky Wildcats for a chance to go to the Elite Eight. So that is my great news, but also I've got good news that is not that at the end of the show. Easton, welcome in. Let's have a great Friday morning. What's up?
I've got bad news. It's officially allergy season. It's hit me like a brick wall. Other than that, I'm happy to be here.
Hey, I've got good news. I've got a fantastic allergy doctor in the area that helped me avoid all that. And there you go.
I've had bad spring allergies my whole life. And it's fine because I don't need more than just the over-the-counter like Claritin or Zysol or Zyrtec. But the problem is I'll take one and it'll work really well for me for 2 or 3 years. And then my body gets immune to it and I have to rotate. Yeah. Yep. So, and I think this week I've decided I have hit rotation. So it's time for me to go shopping for another one of the OTCs.
So what are you currently on?
I'm currently on Zysol. I went Claritin, Zyrtec, Zysol. Maybe it's time to go back to Claritin. I don't know.
Zysol. Bork says, remember when Austin used to die every spring? Yes.
Oh, is it that bad?
Yeah, huh? Oh yeah. The real OG A to Z viewers know, when it gets to April and May, I used to have to do jumping jacks before the show to clear myself out. So that is the trick. No. If you're too stopped up.
So are you on prescription allergy meds?
No, I took allergy shots for about 1.5 years, and now I don't have to take anything. So there you go. Anyway, all right, now go back to your regular.
Yeah. Anyways, other than allergies, happy to be here. Good morning to you. Good morning to everyone in the chat. Seeing a lot of familiar faces, folks. By the one other little side note, Devarte Turner asks, is today's Cam Ward private workout with the Titans? It is. They're going to be doing that later today. The entire contingent flying back to Miami for the second time in 1 week to put him through the paces for about an hour, which is exciting, and we'll hear later, I'd imagine, how that goes. But today we're talking about what the Cam Ward addition, assuming that all of this hubbub is to add Cam Ward to the Titans roster, which that is the assumption. What does it mean for the people in charge, namely Brian Callahan? And what does history tell us? When you mentioned this, you didn't tell me this topic until our pre-show meeting about 40 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And it just so happens that I had a list from January of some research I did on this topic. So it's going to fit really well.
Perfect.
A list that I was going to write an article on, and then I forgot about it until you brought this back up. So works out for us. Yeah, exactly. We got to like the show. That's step one on today's program. Got to like that show on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button for us. Help us out. Send the link to a buddy. Then jump in the comments like Roger, Scott, Devarte, Donnie, Arthur, Troy, Tall Texan, Just Smash, the Zedro. Seeing a lot of familiar faces. Good morning. Happy Friday to you all. Made it to the end of the week. Make sure you've liked the show. If you're with us in the comments, want to hear y'all's thoughts on today's topic. Austin, let's get it off and started.
The episode officially welcome into A to Z Sports here on a Friday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze, one of our Titans reporters for A to Z Sports.com. And we are Nashville's on-demand sports.network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also, hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Leave us a 5-star Google review for A to Z Sports. That helps us out quite a bit as a business, as do our sponsors, because they help us out and they also help out you, like Wilson County Hyundai. If you're looking for a new ride, save money on your new car by going to Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law, where a crash can change your life forever, but help is just a click away at bartdurham.com. So, Easton, you and I have had the conversation, I think, off the air about what would happen if the Titans drew draft the number 1 overall quarterback, and what does that mean for Brian Callahan? And so you've got that research. I remember talking about that months ago at this point, and now we get to revisit it because, there wasn't the clarity that we've gotten the last couple of weeks about the Titans really, really liking Cam Ward. Mm-hmm. They really like Cam Ward. And we talked about, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, about Adam Schefter saying, a lot, open for anything, but they're ready to draft Cam Ward unless they get an offer. And I've seen even more say that 3 first-round picks total is kind of where the Titans are at, which is what we discussed yesterday. But I've always, especially when people have asked me, because you brought this up at the Senior Bowl, you brought this up at the Combine, that whenever you and Sam have been at these national NFL events, you guys are very popular. Not because Sam was second on Survivor, but also because it's the Titans' number 1 pick.
Oh, he's sometimes popular for that, and it doesn't always go well for him. No, sometimes it's really entertaining for me.
It's a love-hate for Sam on that one.
If you ever find me in person, ask me about that.
Yes. But you guys asked a lot. What are the Titans going to do at 1?
Oh, yeah.
They're going to trade back. They're going to draft a quarterback. They're going to just go Abdul Carter if they can't trade back. What do they think about Travis Hunter? Will they sit him on offense or defense? So there's so many questions that you guys are being peppered with at both of those events, the Senior Bowl
in January, and we're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, but in January it was, Shedeur Sanders fits what the Titans want to do, especially if Brian Callahan's a head coach, right?
Sure.
And then you have the Matthew Stafford, the Sam Darnold, the Kirk Cousins, the Aaron Rodgers, the Derek Carr storylines that all come up, and all the other veteran quarterbacks. And here has been my stance for the entirety of this offseason when it comes to the quarterback situation and the Titans structure at the top. Because a lot was discussed when Rand Carthon was fired and Brian Callahan was not. It was why are you going to keep one and not the other? Why not clean house and start from scratch and have everybody aligned, have GM, head coach, and quarterback all aligned? Now, with the number 1 overall pick, they could have done that. But now they've got the GM and the quarterback that are coming in together, but the head coach has 1 year of data on his resume as the Titans head coach, and it's not very good. Whether it's up to him, his fault, Will Levis's fault, partially everybody's fault, Rand Carthon's fault, we all know that. But they decided to keep Brian Callahan. My thoughts, Easton, were and have been, if the Titans draft a quarterback number 1 overall, Brian Callahan is immediately on the hot seat. If the Titans decided to not draft a quarterback this year with the number 1 overall pick, going with whoever the veteran choice may be, that's not Will Levis, then that tells me there is really no way Brian Callahan gets fired in 2025 for on-the-field reasons. That if the Titans decided to go with a veteran and not draft number 1, then it was a collective decision by Brinker, Borgonzi, Callahan, everybody, that this is not the year to go draft the quarterback, that let's sit and wait. And you sit and wait and you punt on it to say, let's try this again down the road and see what we can get with the number 1 overall pick. And that is the collective group's decision, right? And you cannot fire the head coach if you understandingly say, we're going to take a flyer on Derek Carr and understand that the goal is to not go to the playoffs with a Derek Carr or somebody like that, you're making a funny face at me.
You said you cannot fire him. You sure can, and they do.
But I don't think
it's never the plan at this point.
The idea,
we're not going to. We get it.
The idea of you have the number 1 overall pick, you have the option to draft the quarterback, and collectively the decision is not to.
Sure.
Then collectively the decision is to, we don't like this quarterback, so let's punt on it and just ride through 2025 and regroup next offseason when there's more quarterbacks that people tend to like.
And that would be the plan for sure. I just think that plans change, especially when you're at the whims of ownership who are just rich fans for the most part. And I think what you're basically describing is the Giants potentially. And I don't think it's fair to say that there's no way that the Giants leadership isn't fired this year.
But the Giants don't have the number 1 overall pick.
I understand that.
And the Giants also they have a head coach and GM that are aligned, that are tied together, that did survive, right? This is a new triumvirate of Brinker, Borgonzi, and Callahan that are working together for the first time. And so, look, I agree with Titans, Kyle. Even if I agree with Austin's premise, you can't say any of these things are absolutes, right? I think if the Titans did not go with a top pick quarterback and they went with a veteran, Brian Callahan's hot seat meter is a lot lower.
That part is definitely true.
It is almost as low as it could possibly be coming off a 3-14 season.
Yeah.
But as soon as Brian Callahan and the Titans draft Cam Ward number 1 overall, his hot seat meter is significantly higher.
Yeah, and it's under the assumption that they signed some middling veteran, right? Because if they had gone out and been involved in the Darnold sweepstakes or the Stafford sweepstakes or the Geno sweepstakes, I think
we didn't know there was a Geno sweepstakes until there was a Geno sweepstakes until after the fact.
doesn't mean it didn't exist. That tree still fell in the forest. I think that if we're talking about, Russ or maybe even Rodgers, although Rodgers, I don't know, that's kind of a gray area. What other veterans? Jameis, Justin Fields, those guys. Yes. I think yes.
I think Derek Carr falls into those guys too. Even though he wasn't.
If they'd gone, because it would have required a trade. If they'd gone and traded for Derek Carr, I think the expectations would.
But they also would trade they would also trade the top pick too.
Yeah,
so they're gaining.
They'd still have traded for a quarterback they believe can win. You can win games with.
To simplify my overall take is that it would be a long-term plan decision to not draft the quarterback and to say, okay, we're going to run this back and see and reevaluate after a year. And Brian Callahan and nobody should be held accountable individually for the decision to not draft the quarterback.
Sure.
But when you draft the quarterback, you're immediately on the clock. And Brian Callahan's clock is running faster than Borgonzi's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Callahan, you can look at Matt Eberflus of the last guy that just drafted a quarterback number 1 overall that did not make it and survive that rookie quarterback's season in Caleb Williams. Now, Matt Eberflus and Brian Callahan are different. Matt Eberflus is a defensive guy. Callahan is an offensive guy, but that could also hurt Callahan even more if Cam Ward shows promise, but there's clunkiness and clear things that are going wrong, then immediately the Titans front office knows the quarterback is right. The coach may not be right. So we got to get that coach right before we have to pay that quarterback $80 million a year because that's where it's trending, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, absolutely. So if we want to ask a question, we can do that now.
I think we should ask the question because I know you have research on situations like this. So here is the question we're going to throw out there. And good morning, Denise. Good morning to everybody. And so I'm going to put up a YouTube poll as well here momentarily. But the question is, I think it's purposefully one step vague than it could be. But is drafting Cam Ward number 1 overall good or bad for Brian Callahan? Is drafting Cam Ward number 1 overall good or bad for Titans head coach Brian Callahan? I will work on that YouTube poll here in a second. But first, telling everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. That is their website. That's how you book an appointment for any type of injury that you have. They can help you get through it. I've had 3 specific things that I've gone to the Bone and Joint Institute for. I had an old shoulder injury that popped up, got a cortisone shot, and it felt better, and I haven't had a problem with it since. Then I had developed some plantar fasciitis in my foot. Dr. Jeff Watson took care of that a couple years ago. And then last spring, I had some knee tendonitis in my patella tendon from an old ACL injury. And I was able to go to physical therapy, and they said, hey, you probably could use 10 to 12 physical therapy sessions, and then we'll see how it looks. I only needed 7. And they said, you know what? You've graduated. Here's your t-shirt. Move on and be healthy and feel good. And I felt great. They also educated me on how to protect my knee tendonitis, because tendonitis is just something that just doesn't go away. But you can manage it, and I can stay out of the doctor's office because of what the Bone and Joint Institute did for me. We do doc talk segments all the time. Abdul Carter, Easton, you and Dr. Watson, I guess it was, right? A few weeks ago, talked about Abdul Carter, who is not working out at his pro day. Shocker. After Drew Rosenhaus said that they would work out at the pro day, right? So there's a lot of things that the Bone and Joint Institute can help you out with. If your son or daughter gets hurt playing intramurals or youth sports, that happens just like in football. But you've got the experts right there in Franklin that help you get back to being healthy. Online, boneandjointtn.org.
There's so much more to say, but first, make sure you've liked the show for us this morning on Facebook, on YouTube. Hit that like button. Easiest way to be a friend of the show. Easy, free. Hit the thumbs up button. Click it once. It's very helpful to us. We appreciate you guys doing that here on a Friday morning. Now, Austin, do we want to consult your poll or the chat?
I have not put the poll up yet.
Okay, well, while you put the poll up, let's take a look at the chat.
Well, let me just rephrase all of it.
Okay.
Because people jump in and out all the time throughout the show. So my take is, and I've had this for a while, that if the Titans did not draft the quarterback number 1 overall, then Brian Callahan's hot seat would be as low as it possibly could be after a 3-14 season, because of the collective group decision from Brinker, Borgonzi, and Callahan to not draft the quarterback, to go veteran is more of a punt. We'll reevaluate next offseason together, right? But now that if they do follow through with what we assume the plan is going to be of Cam Ward number 1 overall, immediately Brian Callahan is on the hot seat, because you cannot waste any time with a number 1 overall pick quarterback. See Matt Eberflus in Chicago last year. There's more examples like that. Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. Again, very, very different people and coaches than Brian Callahan, but that happens, right? We know that happens. There's evidence
of
it
for you.
Yeah, you've got the list. So the poll is good or bad for head coach Brian Callahan to draft Cam Ward number 1 overall. I will let you go through the chat first as we let the poll results gain more votes.
So this is an interesting way to phrase the question. I'm glad we phrased it this way, because I think it's up to some interpretation. Steven and IR and Richie and Daniel all say that it is good, as does Titans Kyle. John McDaniels and Caps both say that it is bad. Darius says good. Let him get his guy. Tall Texan says bad. He'll get fired even though he shouldn't be. Coach Will says good because he inherited Will Levis. He's getting to actually choose this guy. Jonathan says good. Mario says good. Dax says good if Cam Ward is a franchise quarterback. Bad if he is a bust. Well, hard to argue with that, Dax.
Yep.
Scott says good. Teddy says good. Nick says good. It's the best option for him at quarterback, which I think is certainly a fair way of looking at it. I'm going to.
Is it the best option for him or Brian Callahan? I don't think so.
Oh, I think it is.
For longevity.
What do you mean?
Not in terms
of the feasible options they had in terms of all the possible guys that he could be going into 2025 with as his starting quarterback. Cam Ward, I think, is probably the best of those options.
But he's also, in my opinion, Cam Ward and or Shedeur Sanders would be the 2 ones that get him fired quickest. That's the basis of my opinion.
I know, but I would think we're talking about different things, and so we'll talk about that here in a second. Right. I think we're talking about different things. In fact, I know we're talking about different things. Andre says, good, but Shedeur would be better. Andre's still on the Shedeur train, not giving that up, which I can respect that. That's fine. Plant your flag. American Top says, so do I. A lot. I think they're both going to be good NFL quarterbacks. We've been over this. American Tufts is good. He gives him a chance to prove he can call offensive plays. Okay. Cap says Cam bad for Callahan. Shedeur good for Callahan. Okay, well, we'll see about that. Jay says, good. I'd rather be graded with good tools and than given slack with garbage tools, which I think is a great way of putting that, Jay. Like this comment a lot. I think that this is, again, something that is kind of in line with my thinking on this.
But so in my opinion, you're given slack with those garbage tools in order to get more tools better later.
Yes, but the slack runs out, and the tools you have later, you don't know what they are. Is it going to be my point? So I'll go ahead and transition into my answer. It is good for Brian Callahan. You can't play scared. This is the NFL we're talking about, and things come fast and loose, and you got to be able to roll with the punches. And no risk it, no biscuit is kind of the name of the game at the highest levels of competition in the NFL. And for these guys who are, the high roller alpha types that end up being head coaches in the NFL, I don't think any of them, and if they are, they probably should be fired. I don't think any of them are scared to accelerate their clock in the name of having the best options available to them to be able to do their job well, because they have supreme confidence in themselves. They all have to.
Sure.
And they have supreme confidence in what they can do when they're given the resources they need to be able to succeed. And so a guy like Callahan coming off of last year, well, yes, I agree with your general point that it accelerates his clock. I don't think that's really arguable, to be honest.
IR says drafting a rookie quarterback buys you more time.
Okay, well, maybe it is arguable. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Because I think that's wrong.
Let's set that aside. We will address that in a minute. That's fair enough. Because you're right. You know what? Now that you say that, I have seen people say this. So yeah, we'll talk about that. But in terms of it being good or bad for Callahan, I think it is good because he, as somebody else in the comments said, he inherited Levis, was not his choice. Somebody that he did his best for year one to maximize in some way. It just did not work out. And there was a lot of frustration there. That builds up, and it gets to the point where you, as a coach, would do just about anything to have your guy to have to rest on the laurels of your decision and not somebody else's that was fed to you. And that's what this is. This is him being able to dictate his terms. The idea of buying slack, waiting for a better tool down the road is nice and it's possible, but you're not going to be you're highly unlikely to be in a position of this much flexibility in terms of having the number one overall pick and having the financial flexibility, had they wanted to be involved in just about any quarterback in the free agent market this year, in the trade market this year. They're planting their flag on Cam Ward. They had all the options available to them. This is what they're going with. And I think that it's a good thing for Callahan. I think he would tell you it's a good thing for him.
Okay. So you are obviously on the good side of what this would be. So the YouTube poll,
Good.
I'm on the bad, right? Because I think it immediately puts him on the hot seat, and there is a stronger chance that Brian Callahan does not survive the 2025 season if Cam Ward's the number one overall pick to the Tennessee Titans. The poll is rapidly growing. Now, you talk about how can we get a more lopsided poll than 80-20. How about 82-18?
Oh, wow.
82% good, 18% bad.
Wow, that's really surprising.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. So let's put a fork in this one.
Austin is clearly subscribing to the notion that the number one job is to keep the job.
A lot. And again, I'm evaluating.
Which I don't. I mean,
the number one job is to keep the job. It's self-preservation.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Now, so I get it.
Look, I'm not saying that's how I would do it. I'm a third party outside perspective evaluating the job security of another person. Right. So, but this is how I'm reading this situation. And I think we should put up another poll, Easton, to be honest.
Okay.
Does drafting a rookie quarterback speed up your clock or buy you more time? Because as we've both said, we think it speeds up the clock. I see other people along with IR Hoshi saying the opposite. So
let's run the poll.
I'll run the new poll. Do you want to go through your research that you've gathered months ago for this?
I do. Let me pull that list up. So this is a list of quarterbacks drafted just 1, 2, or 3, just top 3 picks in the last 10 years who ended up getting people or being around when people were fired. So 2014, you had Blake Bortles drafted 3rd overall, fired the offensive coordinator after year 1. 2015, Marcus Mariota drafted 2nd overall, fired the GM and the head coach after year 1. We all know how that went. In 2015, Jameis Winston was drafted 1st overall ahead of Marcus, fired the head coach after that year. 2016, Jared Goff went 1st overall, fired the head coach and the offensive coordinator after that first year. 2017, Mitch Trubisky at 2 overall, fired the head coach and the OC after that first year. Sam Darnold in 2018, 3rd overall pick, fired the GM, head coach, and offensive coordinator after year 1. 2018, Baker Mayfield went 1st overall, fired the head coach and the OC after year 1. 2021, Trevor Lawrence, 1st overall, fired the head coach and the OC after year 1. 2023, Bryce Young went 1st overall, fired the GM, head coach, and OC after year 1. 2024, Drake May, 3rd overall, fired the head coach and OC after year 1. And 2024, we all know Caleb Williams went 1st overall, fired the head coach and the OC after year 1. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 quarterbacks drafted just in the first 3 picks in the last 10 years who got some people fired. Head coach, GM, OC, some combination. Mostly head coaches in there, just kind of eyeballing it.
Yep. So within the last 10 years, 11 top 3 quarterbacks have gotten big people fired.
Yeah, I mean, that's a generalization. That they got them fired, that they were there when somebody was fired their first year as a rookie. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, for what reason, right?
A litany of them.
Yes, because
we know the Marcus Mariota one had little to do with Marcus. That was just kind of we know that.
No, it was because they were getting Marcus. Ken Wisenhunt was getting Marcus killed.
Yeah, it was more than just Marcus though, right? It was a total failure. It was all systems
for
failure,
sure,
right?
But it was it really was like this guy, like the team just invested the 2nd overall pick at a quarterback, and the coach is going to get the guy killed because he doesn't believe in chipping Will Svitek, the left tackle. Like
right.
That might have been the year before. That probably wasn't Svitek, but my point stands.
Yes.
And so it's because most of the time it's because the quarterback is a bigger investment than the head coach.
Looking up and down the list, it's a lot of them. Yeah, it's a lot of them. That was certainly the case with Caleb Williams last year, right? Drake May was kind of an opportunity cost fire, which is still a muddy situation.
That one's kind of an outlier.
Yeah, the Trevor Lawrence one also kind of an outlier. I mean, sort of not, but I mean, the dude was getting
Maybe you could just say the
lap
Jags
dances from random girls at his bar.
The Jags are an outlier, as just in everything.
Yeah, I mean, like that whole saga was an outlier situation. Baker Mayfield, I'd imagine he had a large part to do with that. Sam Darnold, probably the same thing. Trubisky, probably. I mean, I think both Bears firings are kind of similar. The Jared Goff one, that was the Jeff Fisher firing, and they upgraded. Holy cow. What a crazy time.
And that was so again, overview. In the last 10 drafts before this one, 11 quarterbacks drafted in the top 3 have seen at least one, either the head coach, the GM, or both fired within the rookie season.
Yeah, it's actually, there's one guy on here that just got the OC fired, and that was Blake Bortles. The other 10 got a head coach or a GM.
So the Jags continue to be an outlier.
Yeah. Actually, so the other 10 on the list all got at least the head coach fired, which in turn makes the head coach and OC.
So 10 head coaches fired.
10 head coaches, one
head coach survived the OC.
Only three GMs fired on this list.
Which Mike Borgonzi's not getting fired, right? That's the Titan situation, right? That's my point here. And so drafting a rookie quarterback 100% speeds up Brian Callahan's hot seat clock. And I don't know how you can argue against that. Now,
somebody in the chat asked 11 out of how many total? I'm going to look that up while Austin's talking.
So the last 10 drafts, how many quarterbacks went in the top 3? That's a good, but again, like it could work. And somebody earlier in the comments, see if I had that, Lucas had big risk, big reward. Absolutely. Like it could be perfect. It could be phenomenal and hit, but there's a big chance that it could get you fired because drafting a quarterback, number 1 overall, being a head coach who earned the number 1 overall pick puts a massive target on your back, because when you look at, Matt Eberflus was already kind of on the hot seat. It's, do the Bears really want to stick with Eberflus with the number 1 overall pick? Titans fans were asking the same question. Do you want Brian Callahan to be coaching the number 1 overall pick, or do you want to start over because the first year went so poorly? It's already in people's minds that Brian Callahan was in over his head as a rookie head coach. Now, I believe in Brian Callahan more than maybe most. I don't think he is a bad head coach. I think Will Levis made him look awful.
Yeah.
And I think Will Levis made the offensive line look even worse than it actually was. See the difference of sacks allowed between Will Levis and Mason Rudolph. And I think there's a lot of bad things that happen. And I think Brian Callahan can learn from those things, because Mike Vrabel made horrible, horrible coaching decisions his first year with the Titans, but they had a playoff roster that he inherited. And so he was able to overcome. And Delaney Walker had a comment, not about Vrabel, but Delaney Walker had a comment, I think it was when Mularkey was the head coach, was that sometimes players have to overcome coaching. In Mike Vrabel's first year as a head coach, the players were good enough to overcome some of his poor decisions, and they were in a spot to maybe make the playoffs at the last week of the season. They didn't, but it was there. So I really
all aboard the Blaine train, week 18. I remember that game.
Oh yeah, Marcus.
It sucked. It really sucked.
It was brutal.
That stinger.
So, Easton, do you believe drafting a quarterback speeds up your hot seat clock or buys you more time?
It's not even about what I believe. Just historically speaking, it's a fact that it has not, nor will it ever buy you more time. The idea that you draft a quarterback high. So I went. You want to guess how many? 11 of how many in the last 10 years?
How many quarterbacks were drafted in the top 3 in the last 10 years? I'm going to say 23.
18.
Wow.
So 11 of 18.
Out of 18.
Over 60% chance historically in the last 10 years that a top 3 quarterback gets the. Okay, so 10 of 18 in the last 10 years, the head coach has gotten fired the first year. Yeah. So that's actually just under a 60% chance historically in the last 10 years you get fired as a head coach in year 1.
Now, who are the other 7?
It's a great question.
Here's one. I know one for a fact. Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor.
There's one.
And what happened? A significant injury to Joe Burrow bought
time.
Would Zach Taylor have survived the Bengals being sucky with a fully healthy Joe Burrow? That we don't know the answer to that question.
We don't know. I think still maybe, but it's more questionable than how it ended up happening.
But it allowed Zach Taylor, the Joe Burrow injury bought Zach Taylor an extra year because it happened. Oh, where did he go? Easton's gone. What happened?
Hello? I accidentally hit the end stream button. Rogue click, excuse me.
Yeah. But my point was that the injury happened to Burrow early enough in the year to where you're like, well, we don't really know.
Right.
We don't really know how well Zach Taylor was doing overall. And then they got Jamar Chase.
So let's go back through them, right? Do reverse chronological order. Caleb Williams, we know, fired. Jaden Daniels at 2 overall, not fired because they were awesome.
And Dan Quinn was a new head coach to the Commanders, right?
Right. That's also part of it. Drake May fired. Okay, that was last year. Bryce Young fired. CJ Stroud not fired because he was awesome.
And first-time head coach.
Also true. None the Kenny Pickett year. Trevor Lawrence fired. Zach Wilson fired, right? Zach Wilson? Or no, not fired. Nah, was Saleh there yet in 21? Yes.
Yeah, that might have been Saleh's first year. I'll look that up.
Yeah, look that up. So maybe first-year coach again in that case. Trey Lance not fired because you're one of the best coaches in the league. But also, was Trey hurt his first year?
Yeah, he got hurt.
Okay, yeah. So that's another part. Hurt and great head coach.
Yes, Robert Saleh, first year head coach of the Jets when they drafted Zach Wilson.
Okay,
so
Joe.
There's 3.
There's 3
out of 4.
Joe Burrow. We just talked about that situation. He got
which
hurt.
Is the exact same situation as Brian Callahan.
That's the only comparable situation here.
So far, it's the exact same. It's the second year of the head coach.
Yeah.
Going in and getting the first overall pick. And ironically, Callahan was in that situation too.
Yeah. Okay. That was the only one that year. 2019. Kyler, not fired.
That was a first year head coach, wasn't it?
I mean, it was Cliff. Had they fired who the coach was when Josh Rosen was there the year prior? Yes, because it was he went to Tampa Bay. What's his name?
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians. Did they fire him or did he? I think they fired him, or did he walk away for medical reasons? I think he like medically retired and then came back. I think.
Yeah. But so that's now 4 first year head coach with the team drafting the quarterback high.
4 of the 8 that didn't get fired so far, and we're still going. Baker fired. Darnold fired. Trubisky fired. Looking at Patrick Mahomes at 10 overall, kill me. Jared Goff fired. Carson Wentz not fired, but that was not the first year of
Carson Wentz was 2016. Was that Chip Kelly?
In 16? I thought that would already be
Doug Peterson.
Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But if Chip didn't get fired that year, he certainly got fired the next year.
Doug Peterson, head coach. It was 2016 was his first year.
First year. Okay, there you go. He was also good. That's another thing.
But that's 5. So
right.
11.
I do think it's important to point out that not all of these guys got by just because they were a first year head coach. Some of them also, the quarterback was just good. They were just, you know what I mean? Like it worked.
But like Zach Wilson.
Yeah, not. Paxton Lynch, 26 overall. Let's see. Jameis fired. Marcus fired. Bortles fired.
That's your.
So 5 of the 8. So who are the 3?
Trey Lance.
Right. So Kyle Shanahan.
Which is a massive trade up. CJ Stroud was a first time coach. So
Niners, Bengals, and who else? Who's the other one that did? So who are the 8?
We're missing 1.
Okay, let's see. Caleb fired. Jaden not fired. That's what Jaden is one of them. Stroud is one of them. Zach Wilson is one of them. Trey Lance is one of them. There's 4. I'm just making sure it's actually 8. I may have miscounted.
It's 7.
Burrow is one of them.
We're talking about 7. So.
Oh wait, yeah. We're talking about 7 players. So there's the 7. 5 of the 7. So it's just the Niners and the Bengals situations that were not first-year head coaches.
And the only reason why, and what was the common denominator in the Niners and the Bengals situation?
Guys got hurt. Although the Niners one, I don't think it would have mattered either way because you just happened to be one of the most deeply ingrained head coaches, which Brian Callahan's not. So really, I think there is one actual comparison here,
and it's the one that Brian Callahan was a part of.
That's narratively and here's convenient, isn't it?
Isn't that crazy?
Narratively
isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? So yes,
this article's gonna bang when we get off of here.
Drafting Cam Ward #1 overall 100% speeds up Brian Callahan's clock. So basically, based on the last decade in the NFL, the safest way Brian Callahan can survive the 2025 season is if, knocking on wood, because I don't want this to happen, but if Cam Ward gets hurt, like that.
That's not the only way. Or if he's awesome.
It's the safest way.
No, I think if he's awesome, that's also very safe.
Yeah, but how likely is he to be? But based on the data, we just talked about it. There's like almost a 60% chance that you draft a quarterback top 3 and your head coach gets fired.
Yeah, but none of those guys that got a guy fired were awesome, despite the guy getting fired.
Yeah, but then the other, like of the 7 that didn't, you've got all of them were first-time head coaches with that team.
I know.
Brian Callahan is not.
But that's kind of illustrating the point is that quarterbacks drafted in the first 3 picks in their first year are rarely awesome. So it's hard because you're usually not coming into a great situation if you're drafting in the top 3.
Which is why 5 out of those 18.
I just want to be clear that like I think it's important for us to say the safest ways are, again, God forbid, Cam gets hurt or Cam is he's an all-time outlier and he's really good immediately.
But here's the thing. He could be really good, but the team be bad. And that's the reason why you get rid of Callahan, because you want to get somebody else in there.
Okay, so there's where we disagree. I think if Cam is clearly, like, no debate, like no argument that Cam is like, wow, this guy's really killing it, even though the team is, what's still bad? 5 wins, 4 wins? What were we talking about here?
If
6
you're sitting
wins?
there, if you're like 3 wins or less around Thanksgiving, that's where you're looking at. You're like,
Okay, so if you got 3 wins by Thanksgiving, but Cam is clearly, it's working. Everybody's excited. Like, oh, okay, lost year, transition year, fine, but we got our guy. I don't think, unlike some of these other guys, like the Eberflus situation, just to pull the most recent one, I think Callahan's going to, whether it's fair or not, he's going to get credit for that. Because what did he come in as, whether this is fair or not? Billed as the quarterback whisperer, the quarterback guru, the offensive guy. And so, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe in a world where somehow Cam is clearly awesome, but the offensive scheme is a disaster. Maybe
that's what I'm saying. It's like
that's not possible because, one, the scheme last year wasn't a disaster, so it needs to suddenly, all of a sudden, be a disaster, which isn't going to happen. And 2, it's going to be really hard for your quarterback to be clearly awesome in a disastrous scheme.
I think it's about not. It's the same mistakes happening that need to be coached. Again, we're trying to like predict potential problems, right? Like, very specific situation. So like if Cam Ward is having the same type of bad decision killers like Will Levis was doing, and it keeps happening, and Brian Callahan, but also Cam Ward shows these flashes of like, the guy's got it. It's just, he needs to be coached up better. Then that's how that happens. Is if you see the talent and the flashes of the quarterback being good, but the structure around him is not allowing him to be maximized, then that's how the guy can be awesome and the coach not survive.
I think that's fair.
So
it is a narrow path,
but it's more likely than not that Brian Callahan gets fired drafting Cam Ward at number 1 overall based on the last 10 years.
It technically is more likely than it is not likely. Yeah. It's about it's roughly 60%.
Right. Which is why I've had to take, without even knowing that data, that's just been my feeling the whole time.
Sure.
Massive target on his back. So,
but it's still good. It's still good to draft Cam Ward.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Put up or shut up.
Because, no risk, no because here's the thing. Because Titans fans are fans of the Titans. They don't necessarily care about Brian Callahan as long as the Titans are right. Because
no, but I'm saying it's good for Brian Callahan. That was my point in the first question.
Okay. I think it would be right for the franchise, but maybe it makes Brian Callahan on shakier ground because of what we just talked about. So it
just raises the stakes. You're pushing everything into the middle of the pot.
100%. Like Lucas said, big risk, big reward.
That's what I'm saying, Lucas. Lucas, you get it.
So this is the crazy thing though, Easton, because the second poll, drafting a rookie quarterback, ... either speeds up your hot seat clock or buys you more time. Even after we just threw out all of this information, 59% buys you more time, which is basically the rate of getting fired to go against the buys you more time people.
Yeah, it is fascinating how many people seem to think that. And I'm trying, like, I've been thinking, trying to figure out like what is it that makes us think that incorrectly?
I don't know. I don't know because I don't get it. Because you know what? Because it also speeds up Mike Borgonzi's clock.
Yeah, historically, as a GM, when you take a first overall quarterback, your ticket is punched one way or another.
There are clocks in sports that I pay attention to. It is the what happens when you draft a quarterback clock, and it's what happens when you're an athletic director in college and you fire a coach clock. It's your clock starts and it starts fast. And Brian Callahan's is going 1.5 speed because of 3 and 14. Mike Borgonzi's is going regular speed.
Yeah.
I don't see how people believe that it buys you more time. It blows my mind.
I think it's because as fans, we think about hot seats in terms of the temperature of a fan base, and drafting a quarterback high lowers the temperature. It does.
From the fan base.
And so I think it feels like temperature lower, less of a hot seat, because I'm less angry at him when that happens.
Yeah.
When in reality, it just speeds everything up. But in the moment, on the night of April 24th or whatever it is, when they draft Cam Ward, every Titans fan who has toiled they've wandered the desert the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Is not going to be thinking about Brian Callahan's job security and wondering whether or not they should fire him. They're going to be thinking about how the Titans are headed to the Super Bowl, baby.
Yeah. Now, C. Rich comes in, who is on the side of buys you more time. He says, Austin, you think having Russell Wilson at quarterback buys Callahan more time? The process that was run by Brinker, Borgonzi, and Callahan that would lead to Russell Wilson being the quarterback would buy Brian Callahan more time. It was the collective
probably
decision.
More time.
Yes, but the collective decision when you have the number 1 overall pick and you say, we don't like the options, so let's punt, trade out of 1, go with Russell Wilson, and play next year for the top quarterback. That buys Brian Callahan more time because he's one of the 3 people making that collective decision that we're talking about. So the process of Russell Wilson buys Brian Callahan more time. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I do.
All right. Before we flip over to our next topic, we do have some super chats to get to on this one. Noah says, it buys you an extra year, barring absolute travesty on offense. The shortness of the stint of Callahan's time behind the helm also helps his case. Again,
the shortness of the stint behind
the fact that he's only been here for 1 year helps his case. I
think it slightly does.
Compared to the other guys he got fired.
Compared to Eberflus, who's been there for 3 years, or guys who've been there for 4 years, and it's already like people are really sick and tired of you.
Yeah, but the coaches who draft a quarterback in the top 3 over the last 10 years who don't get fired also were the first-time head coaches for that team.
It would really help his case if he didn't coach last year, if he coached this year.
Because you've got 3-14 on the resume.
Yeah.
That is why it speeds up his clock. And Amnesia says you can't fully blame Callahan for Levis's poor play. I 100% agree. I could not agree.
I don't blame Callahan at all.
No, I don't.
Forget fully.
I tried to tell everybody, do not draft Will Levis. Do not draft Will Levis. He is not good. He is not a good college quarterback. Don't draft him. He's not going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. But, and again, that wasn't Brian Callahan that drafted him. So, okay. Let's get to this because the Titans made 2 decisions on their jerseys yesterday. One of them was to get rid of the Oilers throwbacks. And the other one is to change the primary jersey. So we'll talk about that in a second. But Easton, if you could, tell all of everybody here about Bart Durham Injury Law.
I'd love to. Our friends over at Bart Durham Injury Law believe that your big truck wreck is their fight for justice. They can be reached 24/7. Their entire legal team available at 615-242-9000. A crash can change your life forever. Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. They're only a phone call away, and they believe that you deserve to be paid. So their attorneys can meet with you whenever, wherever is most convenient, including virtually. Visit their website at bartdurham.com for current news, blogs, to contact them, to live chat. They've been in business since 1975, so they have 50 years of experience dealing with all kinds of wrecks. They're located locally here in Capitol View, Nashville, but they can fight for anybody in Kentucky or Tennessee that has been doing it, that has been in an auto accident, and Blair Durham has been doing it here for the past couple of years, heading up the charge since his father passed away. He's a Marine veteran. He's a great Tennessean. He is leading the charge over there, and they're doing it the right way at Bart Durham Injury Law. So any kind of a wreck or incident you have on the road that you need help with, they're your friends. Check them out at bartdurham.com.
5-star Google reviews. That's what we need as a company. A to Z Sports. Type in A to Z Sports Google reviews. 5 stars. Hit it right there. We appreciate that. Goes a long way. Okay. Primary jerseys for the Titans are now the light blues. They're going away from the navy. But they're also shelving the Oilers throwbacks.
Yeah.
Which of these two decisions makes you feel more emotions?
Easily. I mean, only one of them really makes me feel any emotion. It's the Oilers.
Really?
They're taking away the best jerseys in the league. Why would they do that? That's very silly.
They're only going to wear them 1 or 2 times max a year.
Yeah, that part's silly too.
But
now we get them none times. Now we get no Cam Ward in an Oilers jersey. That's a war crime. Try that in The Hague.
So I am on the opposite side of this thing. I think the Oilers throwbacks look sick. I think they're great, but I think they went too far. Because the Oilers throwback merch was so much better than the actual Titans merch.
Yeah.
And it exposed the brand. I'm dead serious.
No, I get it. I hear you.
And so I think it's smart to put the Oilers throwbacks on the shelf. You did it for a couple of years because you walk around Nashville, you see more of the new Oilers stuff than you do the Flaming Thumbtack.
Yes.
But you're the Titans and you've got to brand yourself as the Titans. Maybe you bring it back out. Everybody's saying, oh, maybe you bring it back out for the new stadium. Maybe that's the case. But you're the Tennessee Titans. You're not the Tennessee Oilers anymore, and you're definitely not the Houston Oilers. So, but we all know the 90s throwbacks, the starter jacket look, all the bombers, the hats, everything looks so sick with the Oilers old Derek on there. But you're the Titans, and that's not you. You got to rebrand. You got to reset your brand. But I think the light blue Titans jerseys are the worst of the 3 Titans jerseys. I can't stand these. I don't like how the numbers look on these jerseys. They're harder to read. I don't like how they look. I like the navy jerseys, white numbers, or the white jerseys and navy numbers. That is what they should have done. I don't like the light blue. I think this is what they felt they needed to do in order to try to keep the light blue around with they're putting the Oilers stuff on the shelf. I think the worst decision of these two is the light blue as a primary.
I like the light blue, so I don't really care. One thing I will say though, if I just had carte blanche to do whatever I wanted with the plans for jerseys, I felt this way when they unveiled the Oilers throwbacks. I would have, because they are similar, right? The Oilers throwbacks in the standard light blues. I would have just replaced them and had the Titans have 3 colorways. They have the whites, the darks, and the alternate throwbacks. And you wear the alternate throwbacks 2 or 3 times a year, and you just really own it. That's what I would have done. But they're not ever going to do that. Because
the Oilers brand was starting to get too popular and more popular than the Titans brand in the trend.
Right.
That's just my take on it.
Which is the funny reality of it. And I'd imagine a lot of great throwback teams, like I bet the Seahawks are dealing with some of this, the Eagles with the Kelly Green, the Broncos, the Buccaneers with the creamsicles. Yep. All of the most incredible throwbacks are more popular than the real ones because they are sick and they were awesome when they were the main ones. They're awesome now.
But what's the difference in the Titans and the other ones and those other teams?
I get what you're saying. The relocation, but who cares?
No, it's a different nickname. It's a different team name.
Yeah, I don't care though. Who cares? They're sick. They're sick jerseys.
Right. And so it's a different identity.
No, but it's not. You're thinking the opposite of what the Titans are thinking. It's the same identity. They want very badly for those identities to be married. Yes, they do.
Yeah, but
you're thinking like a Texans fan right now.
No.
They're different. They're separate.
No, they're different. They're literally like if the Eagles throwbacks, the Kelly Greens are sick too. They're still the Philadelphia Eagles.
Sure,
like, they're different team names.
Okay. Nicknames. I hear what you're saying. That's not even what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the fact that all of these throwback jerseys are just better jerseys. We had it right way back before I was born.
The 90s are in,
but they never left. They were right then and they're right now. So
the problem with the 90s,
it's funny that they have tried to fix the thing that wasn't broken, and they're realizing, oh no, the thing we got rid of, we can't really bring them back because people like them more than the thing we have now.
Yeah, the problem with 90s jerseys were not the jerseys; it was the shoulder pads and the fabric the jerseys were made out of.
The jersey armholes were big enough to be a head hole, right? It was like
and the shoulder pads like were touching your ears, like the craziest thing is to go watch like Terrell Owens YouTube highlights, who played deep into the 2000s.
Mhm.
But when you go watch like Terrell Owens with the Niners, the shoulder pads on that dude were so freaking huge. It's crazy compared to what they actually are now.
That's a great point, though, that marrying the old style with the new cut, with the cinched arms, the smaller shoulder pads, the fly knit, it is a gorgeous combination that makes the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
And so they have to get rid of them because
but like here's something.
You're drip too cool. They'll kill you. Get them out of here.
Here's something that I don't know if you know. When these jerseys initially came out in like 2018 or whatever it was,
right?
They had to alter the light blue jerseys to make the numbers thicker because there was a problem with seeing the numbers from far.
I do remember folks talking about that.
And so somebody's like, see an optometrist, Austin, you can't see. No, that was a legit thing. Like there is a difference of the contrast of jersey color and number color with those that I just don't like for jerseys. I like the contrast to be starker. And I don't like the light blue jerseys, and I like light blue stuff. I think the North Carolina Tar Heels have some of the sickest stuff. I like the Carolina Panthers have some cool stuff with their version of light blue. I think light blue plays, but for whatever reason, I don't necessarily like that.
That's strange.
I don't like this light blue.
Well, get ready to learn it, buddy, because you're going to see a lot of it starting this year.
It has like a weird shine to it. The navy looks way better, in my opinion.
Okay, well, they'll probably wear it 4 times a year, but that's about it.
What, the navy?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so?
Dude, that's what we're talking about. They're putting the navy right next to the Oilers throwbacks.
They're not wearing them anymore. It's just now it's going from primary to alternate.
Home jerseys.
Yes, you play half of your games away from home. Did you know that?
I do.
They have to wear other jerseys on those games.
And you know what typically teams do when they wear home jerseys? What are these not? These are not white, right? Like the Titans have to wear white when other teams wear their home jerseys.
Right. So on their away games, they'll wear white sometimes and they'll wear navy sometimes.
Ooh, I don't know.
But there are other teams that have lighter home jerseys like the Titans have. For example, when teams come play the Titans in the light blues, they can wear their dark ones if they want to. The Chargers can wear their dark navies against these Titans light blues if they come to Tennessee.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Says who?
Me.
According to what NFL rule?
I think they just have to. You have to be like all jerseys fall into lights or darks in terms of home and away status, and the Titans and light blues fall into the lights.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure because the Titans have hang on because the Titans have worn. Remember these light blues used to be alternates, right? And they would wear them on the road against teams against darks, meaning they're lights against darks. Chat, back me up on this.
No.
The Titans have worn their light blues against teams wearing dark navy, for example. They have.
Only on Thursday Night Football when Color Rush was a thing.
No.
Yes.
I'm not making this up.
Yes.
I'm going to go, no. So you're telling me every single time the Titans were on the road in the past, when did they ever wear the light blues, Austin? When did they wear them?
They've worn them because at times.
Against what colors?
Light.
Light on light?
No, white on light blue.
I know, light on light.
So, for example, let's just do this. Let's say the Titans open the season at Jacksonville, week 1.
I feel like I'm being gaslit.
The Jags are going to wear white in Jacksonville in September. The Titans will pick light blue to wear against the Jags on the road in September because the Jags pick white because it's hot.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, dude.
I don't think they have. I don't think they have to though.
Yeah.
I think the light blues fall into the lights category.
No, they can't be both.
What do you mean be both? The light blues are clearly more light than they are dark.
No, they're it's not. It's like color and white. That's what it is for jerseys.
The chat is as split as we are. I'm going to go try to find pictures of Titans games to see if I can find a game where they're wearing lights against the
dude,
dark.
I'm right. I'm telling you, man. I'm right. Do you know the reason why this...
Even if you're right, you shouldn't be. That's where I'm going to plant my flag.
Well, do you know why this whole thing started with jersey colors home and away back in sports. Do you know the reasoning? Reasoning why
TV used to not have color.
Yeah, black and white TV.
Duh.
But yeah, I'm right on this one. You're wrong. The chat has spoken. It's the home jersey.
The home jersey. We know that it's the home jersey. Now we know that. It wasn't before.
All right, you can go research this time later on. All right, let's get to some good news. If you have good news, maybe that conversation is over. That could be your good news. But time for some good news. If you have it, share it in the chat. Here we go. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. You can save some money with Payne Bone and his team there. Once again, wilsoncountyhyundai.com in Lebanon. All right, good news. I'm trying to see if some good news has come in the chat. And so far, Orlando just says this has been a bad week for Easton.
No, it hasn't. I've had a great week. Orlando is wrong. Incorrect.
Oh, Joshua, good news. Finished my bachelor's degree, working towards being a teacher. Congratulations. That's
exciting
news right there. Let's see. Trying to see some more good news. Tides Kyle. I'll get to Jason in a second. Good news. My teenage daughter's birthday weekend, and we get our first daddy-daughter trip. Congratulations,
exciting.
Tides Kyle. Jason's good news. I struck out my sports marketing job search. Turns out being 46 is a disadvantage in that profession. However, that sounds like bad news. Bought some land in Florida to start my storage business. Things happen for a reason. Well, there you go. Pivot.
There you go.
And make the most of everything. So shout out to Jason on that one. Devarte, excuse me. I had a weird moment there.
Devarte.
Good news. Good news. Cam will be the quarterback. Still got to get him some wide receivers. Absolutely. Good news. Bork, daughter's 5th birthday, taking the day off and having a daughter day. A couple of daddy-daughter situations.
A lot of daddy-daughter situations.
Let's see. Coach Wills, good news. My son scored a hat trick in his lacrosse game. Boom.
Let's go.
Vanessa says, good news. Tennessee going to beat Kentucky. And then I saw somebody else saying opposite.
Is that an early game or a late game today?
Good news. Wildcat surprise win versus the Vols.
Do we know when that game is? Is that late or early?
6:39 p.m. Central Time.
Good.
So it's the first of the games in Indianapolis.
What's the spread on that one? Do we know?
Kentucky plus 4.5 is the bet that I've got.
Oh.
Yep. And that is my good news.
Tennessee's a
favorite 4.5 point favorite. Kentucky has beaten Tennessee both times this year, but I have Kentucky plus 4.5. I think that's the right bet. But my good news, Easton, is there have been 5 days of the NCAA tournament.
Yes, there
including last night, right? Thursday through Sunday last weekend, and then last night.
You weren't betting the first 4?
No.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure.
No, when I do fill out a bracket, I don't fill out my bracket until Thursday morning when I have the results of the first 4.
Same. Yes. Not that it really matters to me, but I hate.
A lot of times a team from the first 4 can make a run. That's happened a lot in the past. It hasn't happened recently. But in the first few years of the first 4, there was
maybe it should matter.
There was a Sweet 16 team that came from Dayton. But anyway, of those 5 days of NCAA tournament, I am profitable sports betting all 5 days. I have not had a down day. I am up, Easton, 21 units.
Massive.
Which is insane.
Brand. Hard to beat that.
21 units in 5 days of betting, one of the most difficult things to bet, because normally the NCAA tournament kicks my ass. And normally I'm down 21 units after the first 5 days of the NCAA tournament. But I am up 21 units. I am pumped about that. And the good thing about this is I have been texting my bets before the games around to people. And so I'm not just been like showing my wins. I've been showing my tickets before the games start. And so I feel like I could talk about it publicly without jinxing myself, because normally I would view this as a jinx. But I've been talking about it. I've been talking about the no-hitter while the no-hitter is going on, before the no-hitter is going on, and it still happens. So that's how I feel. I'm up 21
tonight. Yeah, that's tough.
Profitable every day, all 5 days. Some days bigger than others, but all 5 days in the right spot.
Well, today's a funny day because I don't know how much you have bet on the other 3 games tonight, but you're you're kind of hoping to not be as profitable tonight as you could be.
Oh, I mean, I'm up 21 units, and I lost my emotional hedge of UCLA plus 5.5 Saturday night, and that was a 2-unit bet. And guess what? My Kentucky plus 4.5, 2-unit bet. My emotional hedge is the way to go. What's your good news?
You could, I mean, you could double down on a Tennessee by 2.
You know what I did last night? I had a money line parlay. I had Alabama. I had Alabama, Florida, and Duke in a money line parlay. I had a boosted odds with a token. The third leg was Duke, and what I did, Arizona plus 9.5 to hedge that, won both. Bang! How about that? That's the type of hot streak that I'm on.
This is far harder than I've been. I have not. This is actually the least I've bet on the NCAA tournament in 3 or 4 years. The only significant bet I've had was just an SEC escalator where I had Florida, Auburn, Bama, and Tennessee winning in the first round as a parlay, and then them all making it to the next round, and the next round, and the next round, where each round I get more money. And they all made it, and we're 2 down, 2 to go. So I need Tennessee and Auburn tonight, and I'll make a lot of money if they win that.
Yep. The Burning Devil says, sucks the Razorbacks got eliminated last night. They're up.
Watch it, but I heard it was a debacle for
them. Up 13 with 4 minutes to go. Went to overtime. But hey, guess what? Arkansas plus 5.5 was my last leg of that parlay.
There you go.
So I covered.
Well, and then apparently Cal didn't call a timeout when he was supposed to call a timeout.
Man, the game, the end of regulation and the entire overtime period in Arkansas Texas Tech was phenomenal. Phenomenal television and heartbreaking for Arkansas.
Was Texas Tech just draining threes? What happened?
Both teams. I mean, it was like I did not.
How'd they come back down 13?
I don't know, because I was actually watching I was watching Arizona cover the plus 9.5.
Oh, okay.
and so
then to cover.
Because I thought my Arkansas plus 5.5 was gold. I thought it was fine. I was like, I don't need to watch this. That I had an 18-point swing when they're up 13 with 4 minutes to go. So, but it was just body blow after body blow was the overtime period. And then a nice bucket with like 7 seconds to go and couldn't get a shot up. It was great though.
Raz Biggie says Duke and Florida for the championship. That's my pick too. We'll see. They looked good last night. My good news. I've been doing some television good news lately, and I'm going to go back to the well. I feel like I'm in a golden age of television right now. I have ranted and raved on this show multiple times about Severance, which season 2 is now over. So go, I will let that rest, but go watch it. It's absolutely worth your time. It's incredible television. My wife and I just caught up on The Pit on HBO, which is also very different, incredible television. It is a medical drama that you're like, medical drama. I've seen 19 of them. They're all the same.
But they're all good.
They're all but they're all like comfort food background shows for the most part. Like, you can turn on Grey's Anatomy. This is not that. Super not that. This show doesn't have, it's not like Grey's Anatomy where it's like interpersonal drama and like stuff. It is set in an ER. It is 15 episodes. Every episode is 1 hour of a 15-hour shift in an ER on a particularly bad day. And so it is the outset of the show was designed to be the most accurate medical show ever created. And so there are more real doctors working on the show than Hollywood professionals. It is a doctor-led show. It is starring a guy that was in the original ER back in the day with George Clooney. Josh Wiley, not Josh Wiley, something Wiley. His name is Wiley. I got the wrong Wiley.
Jared Wiley.
Jared Wiley. Yeah, it's a J Wiley, I think. He's fantastic. He's much older than he was in 2000 when he was a young hot face on ER. But it is, your heart rate is going to elevate 20 to 30 BPM while you're watching this show. It is
not for me. Right,
it's a roller coaster ride. It's incredible television. The actual drama of it, like the emotions of it, it's very well acted, but just the action is something like you've never seen before. Tall Texan says, my wife being a trauma surgeon allows me to say it's very realistic. Noah Wiley. There we go. Noah Wiley. He's fantastic. The whole ensemble is fantastic. It's hard. It's a hard show to recommend because you say medical dramas. We're like, okay, I've seen a million medical dramas. I've seen House and, Chicago Med and all of these like lame periodic network television shows. This is so different.
Shows.
Right. This is so different from that. I can't begin to explain to you how different it is. And I was shocked by how different it was going in. And it's the kind of thing you can't put down. And again, it's just one season. It's the last 2 episodes are not out. They'll be out the next 2 weeks, but go watch it. HBO, The Pit.
So Tall Texan's comment about his wife, trauma surgeon, allows him to say it's realistic. I think everybody has, like, when you work in an industry, whatever the industry is, and your industry is portrayed on TV or a movie, and you're like, God, that's so not how it is. Like,
you're right.
You feel like the biggest like snob.
It's infuriating.
But, yeah, it's like, God, that's not what we talk about. Like,
they don't get it. Yeah.
Like when they have like sports radio segments on like shows and movies, like, God, we do not talk like that. That's not how that works. But it kind of is. But anyway, so I think it's interesting of like the trauma surgeon realistic aspect of it, but
it is uniquely accurate. If you search The Pit on YouTube, basically every video is like real doctor YouTubers being like, I can't believe how realistic this show is, breaking down the first episode of The Pit and being like, this is what it's like. Now you guys know what it's like to live our lives and why we aren't well-adjusted individuals, because our lives are hell. I
don't need anything that's going to raise my heart rate, because I've got Tennessee, Kentucky tonight, and I'm going to be plenty buzzing on that. I need something to calm me down.
That's fine
on that one. Now, I did see this from Toph. The Survivor episode this week was the best episode ever. Crying like a baby when Joe ran over to Ava when she was having an autistic episode.
Oh,
I'm not watching this season of Survivor.
I honestly forgot it was still on.
But I did see this all over social media of this moment, and it makes me want to go watch that moment, because everybody is raving about the human connection and the human empathy and care of that moment across the board. So it does make me want to go find out like what happened and what that was, because I'm definitely, I think everybody could use one of those moments to make us feel good. That's what good news is all about, right?
There you go.
All right, that's it. Kentucky plus 4.5. That's the play tonight.
Tennessee to win by 2. Get the best of both worlds.
Next time I see you.
That's what you need. That's what you need. A Tennessee win by 2.
That's the emotional hedge, man. That's the emotional
But I'm saying you can win your bet and win in life.
Dude, yeah, exactly. That's the emotional hedge. It's undefeated.
But the emotional part is just Kentucky wins, and at least you win money. That's the emotional hedge part of it.
No, I know. I do that every time.
Okay.
That's the point. Whenever your team is the favorite,
I know, and I'm saying I'm
team to cover.
I am rooting for you to win your hedge without the emotion. That's
the point. But if Tennessee wins by 2, then the roller coaster is not going to be me. You can see my heart rate looking like I'm watching that.
You're gonna be insufferable if they win by 2.
Oh God! All right, that is it. I got like another 8 hours to wait until the game. So that's it for us. Make sure you hit that like button, like the show before you go. And we will see you guys on a Monday morning. Hope everybody has a great, safe weekend. And we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate it as always.